Sistematis Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Anta Kuti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivacharya Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sharma Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Prabhupada Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namini. Narayana Namaste Chanarum Chevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashta Prayesu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sivaya Bhagavatu Tamasluke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 5, and this morning we're doing text 49. Yavad balim te jaharamakale yata vayam chanam adamayatra yato bhayesham taimehi loka balim haranto nam adantyanuha yavad balim te jaharamakale yata vayam chanam adamayatra yato bhayesham taimehi loka Valim haranto nam adantyanuha. Yavad balam te jahara makali. Yata vayam channam adamaratra. Yato bayesham taime hiloka. Valim haranto nam adantyanuha. Hare Krishna. Krishna.
Yavad balim te haramal kale yata vayam channam adama yatra yato bhayesham ta imehi doka balim harantonam adhyantyanuha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Javad balim teja harama kale yatha bhayam channam adanta adama yatra yatho bhayesham taime loka balim haranton annam adanti anuha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yavadbhakte jaharamaite kale yata vayam chanam amayatra Yato Bayesam Taimehi Loka Balim Haranto Ninamadanti Anuha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. यावदलिं तेज रामकाले यथा वयं चानमदाम यत्र यथो भयेषां तायिमे हि लोकाः बलिहरन्तो न मदद्यनूः. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yavad balyante aja aram kale yatha vayam jannam adam yatra yatho vaisham taimehi loka balim haranto annam hadantya anuha. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Word for word. Yavad, as it may be. Balim, offerings. Te, your. Aja, O unborn one. Harama, shall offer. Kali, at the right time. Yata, as much as. Vayam, we. Cha, also. Annam, food grains. Adama, shall partake. Yatra, whereupon. Yata, as much as. Ubhayisham, both for you and for us. Te, all. Ime, these. He, certainly. Loka, living entities. Balim, offerings. Haranta, while offering. Annam, grains. Adanti, eat. Anuha, without disturbance. Translation by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O unborn one, please enlighten us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain themselves without disturbance and easily accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and for ourselves. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Developed consciousness begins from the human form of life and further increases in the forms of the demigods living in higher planets. The earth is situated almost in the middle of the universe, and the human form of life is the intermediate stage between the life of the demigods and that of the demons. The planetary systems above the earth are especially meant for the higher intellectuals called demigods. They are called demigods because although their standard of life is far more advanced in culture, enjoyment, luxury, beauty, education, and duration of life, they are always fully conscious. Demigods are always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord because they are perfectly aware of the fact that every living entity is constitutionally an eternal subordinate servitor of the Lord. They also know that it is the Lord only who can maintain all living entities with all the necessities of life. The Vedic hymns, Eko Bahunam Dio Vidadati Kaman, Ta Enam Abruvan Ayatnatam, so Ayatanam, Na Prajanihi Yasmin Pratishtita, Anam Adame, etc., confirm this truth. In Bhagavad Gita also, the Lord is mentioned as Bhuta Brit, or the maintainer of all living creatures. The modern theory that starvation is due to an increase in population is not accepted by the demigods or the devotees of the Lord. The devotees or demigods are fully aware that the Lord can maintain any number of living entities, provided they are conscious of how to eat. If they want to eat like ordinary animals who have no God consciousness, then they must live in starvation, poverty, and want like the jungle animals in the forest. The jungle animals are also maintained by the Lord with their respective foodstuffs, but they are not advanced in God consciousness. Similarly, human beings are provided with food grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk by the grace of the Lord. But it is the duty of human beings to acknowledge the mercy of the Lord. As a matter of gratitude, they should feel obliged to the Lord for their supply of foodstuffs, and they must first offer him food in sacrifice and then partake of the remnants. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 13, it is confirmed that one who takes foodstuff after performance of sacrifice eats real food for proper maintenance of the body and soul. But one who cooks for himself and does not perform any sacrifice eats only lumps of sin in the shape of foodstuffs. Such sinful eating can never make one happy or free from scarcity. Famine is not due to an increase in population, as less intelligent economists think. When human society is grateful to the Lord for all his gifts for the maintenance of the living entities, then there is certainly no scarcity or want in society. But when men are unaware of the intrinsic value of such gifts from the Lord, surely they are in want. A person who has no God consciousness may live in opulence for the time being due to his past virtuous acts. But if one forgets his relationship with the Lord, certainly he must await the stage of starvation by the law of the powerful material nature. One cannot escape the vigilance of the powerful material nature unless he leads a God conscious or devotional life. Oma Ginat Mirandasya Gyana Gana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Dina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovitam Stapitam Dina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamala Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sundhi Eva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatyarini Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurachise Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himaviri Vichavichandraya Tasmi Mahapremuraspadaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Hare Krishna. The English translation again. O unborn one, please us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain themselves without disturbance and can easily accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and for ourselves. Hare Krishna. So clearly, this text is a request. The request to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the one that is Aja, the unborn. So, O unborn one, so they're definitely referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please enlighten us. So this is the number of living entities who are requesting by praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He talks about enjoyable grains. We'll get to that in a minute. But who are these? They are the demigods. And why are they praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this way? Well, that's been described in some of the texts before this one. So we'll just a few, like 4 texts back, this request is made. The prayers to the demigods became necessary after they realized they were unable to perform the duties entrusted to them. They were entrusted with duties. They take care of affairs in the material world on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the responsibilities is spread amongst them. But they were not able to perform these duties properly. And therefore, they turned to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for prayer, and in prayer to help. The same thing, or this is a way in which we are also being taught. Demigods can do that, and demigods know to turn to the Lord because they are supposed to perform services entrusted to them by the Lord, and they're not able to do it well. It means that also when we struggle with our devotional service, we must also turn to prayer to seek help, immediate help. And the Lord knows that that request is not a material request. It's a request to perform activity to please the Lord's senses. Similarly, the demigods were given duties by the Lord, and they were supposed to perform that. And if they can't do it properly, they turn to the Lord. So they're teaching us. This is how we should go about things. Sometimes we may request another devotee for help. But the one that can make everything work wonderfully is the Supreme Lord himself. So we should never forget to turn to the Lord when we're doing activities in devotional service and we encounter some difficulty. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out prayer. Short prayer is fine. But we should also do in such prayers the way the demigods do. They always start by acknowledging the supremacy of the Lord and acknowledge their dependence on the Lord. Then, after that acknowledgement, then they begin to ask, they put their requests to the Lord. Maharani Uttara, the mother of Maharaj Pariksit, was facing a very, very serious situation when Ashwatthama threw a Brahmastra to try to get rid of the baby in the womb, Maharaj Pariksit. Uttara did not quite know what was going on. He just knew that this chaos about to happen, and she was the center of it. And so what did she do? She immediately ran to where Krishna was. And of course, she was going to ask for help from Krishna. But that part of the Bhagavatam explains clearly that even at that critical time, Uttara Mataji never forgot to praise the Lord first. This is the lesson we have to learn. She never forgot to praise the Lord first. She talked about the Lord's strength, the Lord's abilities. Then she asked, this is a situation that's happening to me, please help me. And of course, that story has been told so many times, you know what happened. The Lord actually went into the womb of Uttara. Maharaj Pariksit saw him come. That's why he got the name Examiner. Pariksit means examiner. So, but she requested first. And now, in this case, you also see the demigods doing the same thing. And they're requesting specifically that, as the text explains, they are to give or to sustain themselves. They're not thinking about them only. They're thinking about all living entities. And they're demigods. And it's not surprising they're thinking about all living entities, because the responsibilities that each demigod has affects all living entities. That's the way it's designed. The Lord, they are helping the Lord in matters of running the material world. And so every living entity in the material world is affected by what they do or what they're not able to do. So since they can't do the activity so well, they started putting the requests before the Lord. So first it says, dear Lord, teach us the ways by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities will be able to maintain themselves without disturbance. And can easily also accumulate whatever necessities of life needed for serving you and also for ourselves. So again, the way the demigods put this prayer is also very significant. They wanted help to do their activities when it comes to food grains and other supplies. But they said, enlighten us on ways by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains. They didn't say, please show us ways and means by which we can satisfy ourselves with food grains. They said we can offer you first grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities can maintain themselves. So it's implied in this sentence that they are thinking they have to offer to the Lord first. That's why Srila Prabhupada has taught us that way. When we cook, we offer to the Lord first. Then we take the food grains, the remnants, after the Lord has eaten. After the Lord has eaten, then the food grains automatically become remnants. And they are also blessed by the Lord. His mercy is prasad, as we call it. So the demigods also were asking, all right, we also have to be able to maintain ourselves, and also be able to accumulate what is necessary in life. Again, what is necessary in life, the necessities of life, they thought of the Supreme Lord first. We want to accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and then for ourselves. They know that the Lord does not need anything. He's Atmaram, he's self-satisfied. But whatever he supplied in the material world, they know that they take anything, they have to offer to the Lord first. So first they talked about food grains, and now they talked about necessities of life generally. And by the way, they mentioned the necessities of life. That's also very important. Material life is lived as necessary. If we overdo it, then we just want our sense gratification. And so sense gratification is what's going to keep us life after life in this material world. So we shouldn't be about that. Any body that even through karma has become affluent, wealthy, must think first, just like the demigods do, how to offer to the Lord. And we offer to the Lord by offering gifts in charity to projects or to temples, because their activities in projects for Krishna consciousness and also the Krishna consciousness temples, because the temples' activities are 100% service to the Lord. That way, then whatever has come, we don't get so attached to it, because attachment to material things can also cause us to come lifetime after lifetime back to the material world. We won't go home. Once you're attached, it's all a mental thing. Once we attach to material things, then the mind is always thinking about material things. The mind is always playing this picture, one picture after another of material things, and we're accepting them. And so when it comes time to take our final exam, we will still be thinking about material things. So at the time of death, the mind says, all right, material things, material things, material things. Therefore, go for more material things. But that's not in the spiritual world. That means take another body and come for more material things, because that's what we're thinking about. Now, it's been explained to us, and this is the reason why we have to chant so constantly. It's been explained that at the time of death, the dominant things that we think about during our lives is what most likely going to play in our minds. The dominant thing, the one we think about the most, or the things we think about the most. So we should have more attachment to Krishna consciousness. And in this Kali Yuga, it's been made very easy. Chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when we chant about the Supreme Personality of Godhead's name, the Hare Krishna mantra, and then we also hear about him and have discussions about him, then that's the dominant thing in our minds. Chant with the beads, and then chant the rest of the time without the beads. So that we're always thinking about Krishna, which is what he asks us to do. In Bhagavad Gita, he says that. In 1865, Man Manabat Bhakto, think of me all the time and become my devotee. So the demigods they have faced a situation where they can't run their responsibilities properly. But they were also teaching us that in that situation, you turn to the Lord. In the situation where we're doing things properly, we acknowledge that the Lord is helping us. So our prayer should be in gratitude for what we're doing. When we have difficulty, the prayer should be, help us to do it properly in order to serve you nicely. Because the aim of a devotee always is to serve the Lord and serve Guru and serve devotees to the best of their ability. To the best of their ability. When we go to the temple to serve, the temple's business is 100% Krishna consciousness activities. When we go to the temple, our intelligence should click in and say, all right, there are some things I have to do. I have to offer obeisances, go through that. But the whole time that we're there, we have to be alert that everybody is watching us. And who is everybody? The demigods see what's going on. The deities see what's going on. And some of the devotees see what's going on. The deities definitely don't miss anything. And the demigods don't miss anything. And so I must be at my best. That should be the consciousness the whole time. And when we go home and we also take the same attitude, then we become a person in the mode of goodness, a real polished person, a person acting in the human consciousness. Now, Srila Prabhupada talks about it in the purport. The demigods are always rendering service. They're always ready to do that. Because they're very well aware of the fact that every living entity is supported by the Lord. We are an eternal, each one of us is an eternal and subordinate servitor of the Lord. This is how we become happy. Happiness is maintained in a devotee when they have this, that by constitution, my makeup is I'm supposed to serve the Lord and serve the Lord's devotees. They also know another thing, the demigods. Again, we learn from them. It's the Lord who maintains all living entities with all the necessities of life. And Srila Prabhupada has made very important points here, further down the purport, which we'll get to. The Lord maintains, and we are eternal subordinate servitors of the Lord. The Lord maintains everyone with all necessities of life. Eko bahunam yovdadati kaman. The one that supports all. So, people who are godless, They are thinking that when there's starvation, it means more people are being born. There's an increase in population. There's even increase in population by those souls that are not in human bodies. Sometimes there's this deliberate effort made by people to say, oh, okay, these particular entities are becoming too many, so we have to kill them to reduce the population. That's been done. Godlike decisions that godless people are making. Hmm? Papa talks about starvation particularly. And I have seen in situations in wars where one side blocked the food grains that could be given to the other side and deliberately starved the other side. War, pointless wars means people exhibit wickedness. So starvation is not due to an increase in population. Because your Papa has mentioned that this planet can support 10 times the current population here. It can support that easily. We're almost 8 billion. This earth can support almost 80 billion, according to the way Shri Papa described it. So people like to eat, of course. They have to maintain their bodies from eating, but they also have to be conscious of things that are connected with their eating. First, these are supplied by the Lord. If we don't acknowledge that things have been supplied to us for our sustenance by the Lord first, have that always in our minds, then we're eating like ordinary animals. And that's what Prabhupada talks about. Ordinary animals are not sure from one situation to another how they're going to get foodstuff. That's why they search and they search and they search, and there's all these living entities in non-human bodies. You see them always searching, and more searching. In the jungle, those that are not meat eaters, they go after grass and eat that. And it seems that, oh, they're okay because grass is plentiful. But they eat also in fear because other animals that are stronger than them are looking to eat them. And so just imagine trying to eat, but always looking around fearful of somebody taking your life. This is a life to live, but the jungle animals are like that. Even with all of that, the jungle animals are also maintained by the Lord. But human beings have higher intelligence. So it is a duty of human beings, as Srila Prabhupada explains, we have to acknowledge the mercy of the Lord. What has come to us came through the mercy of the Lord. And so as a matter of gratitude, as a matter of being grateful for getting the food stuff, we have to offer to the Lord first and then take of the remnants. So that's our life. Srila Prabhupada says it's not the way economists think, how famine occurs in this world. Oh, it's the increase in population. If we reduce the population, we'll be all right. You can't reduce the population by any good means. And therefore, they start all kinds of means. And there have been so many ways in which the population reduction has been embarked on by people in power. And they are very, very horrible ways. But Papa says simply, the population can increase and this planet can support everybody easily. But only on one thing. When human society is grateful to the Lord for the gifts that's being given, for the maintenance of these living entities, all of us, those who are in human bodies and those who are not, when the human society is grateful to the Lord for maintenance, then there's not going to be any scarcity. As it said in the Bhagavad Gita, the extent to which we surrender, then he rewards accordingly. So if we express gratitude for the gifts that the Lord is giving us, we express that we are subordinate and he is the supreme personality, the supreme powerful, then we understand our position and we also acknowledge the Lord's position, then there's no problem with us. The Lord maintains. He is kind, but we are prisoners. So we have to first understand us, not that he's, clamoring for, tell me that I am the most powerful before I'll be happy with you. No, we have to get that education because first we were thinking that we wanted to be bosses. So for us here in the material world, we have to understand what our position is. And we have to actually express our position that we are eternal subordinates. Because those in the spiritual world already know that. And they live in that way. But those of us that have become criminals, it becomes necessary for us to get rehabilitated. And the process of rehabilitation involves admitting that the Lord is superior and we are just small parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are also dependent on Him. That is the proper way to think, and that is what gives us the chance to earn the mercy of the Lord and go back to the spiritual world. So these controlling deities, especially being put in that situation where they were not able to do their functions properly, immediately told us, this is when you get into difficulty, when you're unable to perform, this is what you do. You offer fascinating prayers to the Lord because you want to serve the Lord anyway. One of the prayers they said was very important to us to remember. Simply by hearing about the lotus feet of the Lord, but with eagerness. That's the price, as Prabhupada says. Eagerness and devotion. Hearing about the lotus feet of the Lord and meditating upon what we hear in our hearts, then we become enlightened with knowledge and become detached from material things. So we have to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and understand our position all of the time. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada quoted in chapter 3, text 13, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. And those who don't do that, they eat only sin. Krishna is explaining that. Those who eat food just for personal sense enjoyment, they eat sin. And if you are a devotee been in Krishna consciousness for a while, and you see, say, somebody immediately, like maybe you're watching a program on television, and somebody just given some food stuff, and immediately put it in their mouths, no prayer, nothing, and then they immediately start expressing how wonderful it is. For a devotee, something immediately a bell goes in your head. Immediately. Look at this person. Now it seems normal to a lot of people for a person to do like that. There's food stuff, you take it, you taste it. Oh, it's very nice. But for a devotee, the first thing that intelligence kicks in to tell you is that he or she didn't offer it. They're doing it just for themselves. They are not acknowledging the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the source through which this came. All the ingredients and intelligence to put all that cooking together came from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they haven't acknowledged it, and they're just eating it themselves. Therefore, Krishna says that is a sinful thing to do. The Lord gave everything to us. Therefore, before we partake of anything in this material world, we have to acknowledge that it came from Him first and be grateful for where it came, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we use whatever it is that it is, what we want to use it for, and go ahead and use it for that. So we always have to put the Lord first in everything that we do. Short prayers, easy to perform. Say a few prayers, just acknowledging, being grateful to the Lord for a devotee's life. Gratitude is very, very important. We have to have an attitude of gratitude, as they say, so put it that way. We always should be grateful. In the material world, yes, there are some difficulties, but even that, the devotee is supposed to think it could have been worse, and the Lord has made it a little easier on me. Even difficult times, we're supposed to think that way. And very interestingly, when we make it a habit to think that way, then Krishna also makes our life very interesting in that sometimes things that we don't even expect, he makes it happen in a very, very unique and wonderful way. My Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj calls it Krishna magic. The more grateful we are, the more small miracles happen in our lives on a daily basis. And those who express gratitude know this as a fact. One thing after another happens that we didn't even expect to happen. So in that case, the devotee that sees that will always be grateful to the Lord. And it's also a way in which the devotee understands the Lord is with me. The Lord is watching through everything that I'm doing. The Lord is helping me in many ways. But we have to live that way. It's a choice. We can decide to, all right, this is how I do things in the morning, and this is my routine, therefore I go through my routine. But even what we call routine, Krishna can put things in there for that so-called routine to happen in such a unique and more beneficial way, more than we'd expect to happen. We're talking about routine things. So then routine things are things that we have the expectation about how it's going to go. But even that, Krishna steps in and sometimes tweaks things to make it even more exciting and more interesting. Then we know the Lord is actually monitoring everything we do. And when he's happy because we are happy with us, because we are grateful for what's happening, then he does little things to remind us that his love is always there for us. We can talk about a number of examples, but the fact of the matter is it happens in everybody's life if we're aware of what's going on. Only the person that thinks that, oh, I do all my work based on the routine that I have set aside, set up for myself, don't see the hand of the Lord. And if that's the way we're thinking, then as my Guru Maharaj puts it, it's going to be business as usual. We won't have anything that would seem unusual to us because we expect and we want to do things a certain way. In other words, our own ego is taken over. But even for routine things, if we're grateful to the Lord and we're thankful, then even that gets tweaked every now and then in a way that is quite unique. So the conclusion is we have to pray every day. And there's a certain prayer that Srila Prabhupada suggested in one of his purports. So I'll bring it up. I'll just say it verbatim. And you don't have to necessarily have it verbatim, but the major things in here we can all take and use as part of our lives. So the prayer is this: my dear Lord, although I'm most sinful and unqualified, and for so long I've been trying to forget you, now I'm taking shelter at your lotus feet. From this day on, I'm yours. Whatever I possess, my mind, my body, my words, my family, my wealth, I am now offering at your lotus feet. Please do with me as you like. So I'll say it again. My dear Lord, although I am most sinful and unqualified, and for so long I've been trying to forget you. That's our past lives have been like that. That's why we're still here. Now I'm taking shelter at your lotus feet. So first we acknowledge we are most sinful. And we've been trying to forget the Lord, trying to do things. You see it around now, people trying to do things without the Lord's input. They don't want even the Lord to input. They think they can do everything. So I'm unqualified. I'm most sinful. I'm trying to forget you. Now I'm taking shelter at your lotus feet. So from this day, I'm yours. This day on. Whatever I possess, my body, my mind, my words, my family, my riches, I'm offering all of that at your lotus feet. Then please do with me as you like. Like that. So you can use your own words with some of the major points in here and pray the way you want. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 20, he says, those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, and completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, they are very, very dear to me. So if we follow this path of devotional service set up by Srila Prabhupada, we don't know what to do. We're taking guidance for the preeminent Shiksha Guru, the one that has brought us to Krishna consciousness, His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. You should always be eager to find out what did Srila Prabhupada say about this, what did Srila Prabhupada say about that, and then live according to that and tell others too, so we don't deviate from his instructions. So those who follow this path of devotional service, which is imperishable, it is imperishable. Devotional service is lived by all the residents in the spiritual world. So how can it perish? Who completely engage themselves with faith, trusting the Lord in everything that we do, and making the Lord the supreme goal. As the Prabhupada says in the magazine that he started distributing, back to Godhead, the supreme goal, back to Godhead. Krishna says, those persons are very dear to me, devoted to the Lord. So we should always live life that way. We should always pray that prayer that Srila Prabhupada has mentioned. I am most simple, I'm unqualified, I've been trying to forget you. But now I'm turning to you fully, taking shelter at your lotus feet. I'm yours from today on. My body, my mind, my words, my family, my riches, all of that I offer to you. And you do with me as you like. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for coming on to listen today. We all learn and hopefully become better devotees from this. Hare Krishna. So now this is the time to unmute yourself. If you have comments or you have questions and, realizations you'd like to share. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The last word that you said, that is a very important word, We surrender. We just give it everything to the Krishna.
Yeah.
And then just ask him whatever he wants to do. That's a very strong thing. We have to do that. And like Srila Prabhupada said, that I am a puppet in your hands and just make me whatever way you want me to dance, I will dance. So that is the main thing. And then a lot of things, when difficulties happen, we say, Krishna, why am I getting these difficulties? When the problem solves and happiness comes, I don't know how many of us say, thank you very much, Krishna. You just solved the problem. You did it and you took care of me. Thank you very much. Here, every silly thing in this country, every silly thing, if a person gives a small paper or some small pens, thank you very much, we say. But how many times we are thanking Krishna, I don't know.
Yes. Very important.
Nowadays I learned that whatever happens, and I tell him if that is happiness and peaceful and he solves the problem, I say, thank you very much, Krishna.
Wonderful. Very, very, very wonderful realization and nice connection. As you talked about, normally when someone does something for us, we do not hesitate to say thank you.
Yeah.
But the Lord is always doing so many things
He
for us.
always does that.
We should be saying thank you the whole time.
All the
The
time we
Lord,
have to say thank you.
literally, yeah.
Morning we get up, thank you very much for the giving the another day. And the end of the day, oh, thank you very much, I passed through this day. We never say that, mostly.
Yeah. We're too connected to business as usual. Business as usual, that's the problem.
And if we
Yeah.
don't say also, he won't say anything.
No, because we have our free will. So
Another important thing that I learned today was that, like Uttara did, before we ask, we first pray, we praise him. And for that, I am forever grateful to Prabhupada. That is what I have learned. That is the biggest thing I have learned having come into this society, is that we don't go to the temple just to ask. We go to the temple just to see him, to take his darshan, to pray to him, to praise him, and just say, "You are it." That's it. That should be enough, and that is just such a big lesson. I used to think we go to the temple to pray so that he will take care of us. He will take care of me as much as I need to be taken care of, whether or not I pray. But I go to the temple now to praise him and leave.
yes.
If I have to ask,
Wonderful.
if I need something, if I want something, yes, that he's the only one I should be asking. But to be able to just go, see, come back, it should be enough, should be it. That I think is, and then when you said about Uttara, that even in that difficulty, she remembered to first praise him and then ask for protection. That's just a very profound realization.
She did it. She did it
Yeah.
wonderfully.
Yes.
Really wonderfully. I mean, she's so God conscious. She's so aware.
Yeah.
She's so aware that comes first. In fact, yesterday I was looking at a shorts, as they call it, shorts now on YouTube, and apparently, as they were saying, there was an exchange between Draupadi and Krishna when the dice game between with the Pandavas and the Kauravas, Shakuni playing on behalf of Duryodhana, and they finally, got Yudhishthira so bewildered that he staked Draupadi and he lost Draupadi, and how they treated Draupadi after winning him. Says, so now you're a maid. And finally, Duryodhana ordered Dushasan to go get Draupadi. And Draupadi came, and Draupadi did not come immediately. Draupadi first tried to reason with Dushasan, and Dushasan would have none of it. Dragged her, finally brought her, and so many negative things, horrible things were done, right in front of the husbands, the Pandavas. Now, when they tried to strip her naked, after realizing that Draupadi realized that she couldn't really, Dushasan was too strong, and she couldn't stop him. Then she gave up and called on the name of the Lord, and the Lord supplied endless sari, and the whole thing was basically stopped, aborted. He couldn't go on. Dushasan could not go on. The Lord walked out. Now that conversation was, Draupadi asked, but I was in so much trouble. Why didn't you come to me? The Lord simply said, first, when Dushasan came, you took things into your own hands and you tried to go about it the way you wanted to go about it. Had you called me then, you wouldn't have gone through half the things you went through. It's only when you finally remembered me and called me, then everything got stopped. So in all situations, just like, Uttara did, first thing, he went to Krishna. Draupadi did not appeal to Krishna the first time. Not right away. So sometimes it's our natural instinct to turn around and try to see if we can protect ourselves, or try to deal with the situation. But we should always remember the greatest protector is the Lord himself. So we got to say a quick prayer to the Lord. Then, even if we have to use our strength, now we're using our strength as just a secondary thing, and the Lord himself takes charge. So that's a good lesson. Yeah, Uttara taught us quite a bit in that emergency, the way he went to Krishna and praised Krishna first before asking for help. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I like to say that Bhakti Tita Maharaj may say, Krishna, there's a little bit miracle in our life. So how do you perceive it in your day-to-day life? Like Krishna. If you surrender to Krishna, if you think of Krishna, if you take shelter of Krishna. So
we should be grateful for everyday things that we do, even if it's just a repetition of the things that we do every day. Because for our mind to even work and for our intelligence to work, that is by the grace of the Paramatma. We assume those things, but even the mind that we have now and the intelligence that we have that guides us through things that we do, that is from the Lord. So our gratitude should always be there from the Lord, for the Lord. And we should express it in our prayers, silently to ourselves, between ourselves and the Lord, to acknowledge that. Now, for just doing that, the Lord will, in fact, and it's to me, so many people's life, they actually have realized this, that even that's what we're talking about earlier, even the so-called routine things, sometimes there are different unexpected things that are put into our so-called routine that brings our mind to the realization, I couldn't have done it this way. I never thought about it this way. That is the Lord that's given us extra help for us to actually remember that he is actually the one that takes care of everything that we do. So that we don't always think that, oh, it's business as usual, because business as usual, Maya can jump on that and make us think business as usual is just me doing it. I'm the one that's doing it. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has explained, Prakritiki Amana Nigunai Karmani Savasa Ahankara Vimudatma Kata Hamiti Manyate. That this living entity is thinking that he's doing everything by himself, but actually it's all under the category of the three modes of nature. But who established the three modes of nature? Lord Vishnu. So everything comes from him. And so if we understand it that way, and from that acknowledgement, we go about so-called business as usual, but we don't think it's business as usual. It's by the mercy of the Lord that so-called business as usual is even going on. Then the Lord will also use ways in this so-called business as usual, ways to remind us, to wonderfully remind us by putting some magic things or miraculous things right in the middle of this so-called business as usual. So it actually does happen. It actually does happen. We can see it in our own lives. I'm just tempted to say examples of my own life here, but I'm not important, so it doesn't matter. It does happen in everybody's life. So there are so many stories, If you really are observant, you realize unusual things happen. And speaking about my Guru, he did in fact say that that should be a devotee's life. The unexpected, we should expect the unexpected. We should expect the unexpected. Not as we expect magic, we should expect miracles to happen in our life. But the Buddhist life is actually like that. As long as we keep remembering the Lord, there will be pleasantly unusual things that also happen in our so-called normal routine. That's the point we're trying to make. It will happen. And if it doesn't, then it means we're thinking about business as usual, that we are in control. So then the Lord lets us do things the way we think. We are in control. But if we acknowledge the Lord, then other things happen that we didn't expect. And they're wonderful things. And that increases our love for Krishna even more. It's all about heart connection. And Krishna does his part if we pay attention and do what we're supposed to do. Thank you for bringing it up. Hare Krishna. Any other comments? See, that's how we become happy, though. I mean, it's like at any point they expect Krishna to just, not expect the unexpected. At any time, Krishna would just can jump in and do something that is fabulous. Ooh, I didn't know it could be like that. Then we didn't plan it, but then it happens. Mm. Then we just smile to yourself and you realize, yeah, Krishna is with me. We live life that way. And we're still in the material world, and even like that. So how much more when we go to the spiritual world? Mm. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Prashant.
much, Prabhu. Go
Hare
ahead.
Krishna.
Go ahead.
No, please. You went first. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
for nice discussion. So today I learned, so we have to remember Krishna first. Anything happening, we have to follow the path of Uttara. It was very nice, Prabhu, because so many times we read ourselves, but when elaborate soul like you explain, we get more connection. That is nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Thank you, Parisha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Very wonderful class. Just trying to think in terms of like attachment when those prayers you gave to us from Srila Prabhupada, they were really beautiful. And when a situation is taking place in life and we feel we need some immediate direction or guidance oftentimes we have an attachment. We have there's a certain outcome that we're trying to seek. And even our prayers can become biased or so in that direction because we feel that this is the way it's supposed to unfold. It may just not be unfolding quick enough. However, as time goes by, our attachment to a situation becomes a little bit less. We become a little bit more, we can see from a broader perspective how, and then in hindsight, we can see, well, maybe I was too attached to that situation. Is there any way we don't have to, I guess, have to go through that process? Because we look at other people's lives, and a person comes to us, either for advice, or it's very easy to guide them and say because we're detached from that situation. But when we're in it, to be able to pray in a selfless way, to pray as an instrument that Krishna's will be done, even though philosophically we may understand it through a class like this, but when we're actually going through it, we want a specific result. And how do we get out of it? How do we sever that?
I understand the question. It's common too. It's a very good question you've asked because it happens to so many people's lives. They expect a certain results when they are, working on something. And we want the Lord to do it that way. that's the issue. There's only one way in the prayer one way to tweak the prayer so that we put ourselves in a subordinate position. You just simply say, if it is your will, then according to what you're expecting or the results that you're expecting. To expect some result is not unusual. We all think a certain ways. We do certain things expecting some particular results. But Krishna says, don't be attached to the result. And that's why we say, if it is your will. Then we say, if it is your will, then it means Krishna can do it the way we were hoping it would happen, or Krishna can change it. And either way, we are ready to accept whatever the outcome is. So just by adding, if it is your will to the prayer, then it will happen. I'll just say one example. So in Gitanagri, when first I went in the mid-90s, the building that's the Prasadam Hall now, the first floor being the Prasadam Hall, was in fact the temple. So many problems of the building itself needed a lot of help. It was set up not so well. It was not built so well. So there were inherent problems that weren't easy to fix. So one devotee decided that we should have a new temple, and he himself was a builder, and he started building. Later on, when Bhakti Maharaj came, devotees chipped in even more. Lakshmi, the building was being built, and got a contractor. Anyway, cut a long story short, devotees very much wanted the deities, Sri Radha Damodar and the gopis, Lalita Vishaka, Gonita, Jagannath, Subhadra, those were on the altar, to move to this new building. But the devotees wanted the deities to go to the new temple before the end of Kartik that year. And so the devotees had set the date Kartik. By the end of Kartik, the deities should be in the new temple. And that's a decision we made. And so then how do you go about it? Well, the suggestion was made that we should pray. So at one point in the morning program, right after Mangalati, before the japa starts, we will all kneel or offer obeisances as our physical bodies could take and pray this prayer that this is Damodar. Now that's important. If it is your will, that's the first thing we're told. If it is your will, please move to the new temple by before the end of the Kartik. So we prayed like that and prayed like that, prayed like that. But because we put if it is your will, the Lord made the decision. And the last day of Kartik, he moved. So it happened, but that was based on his will. I remember the day like it was yesterday. A long carpet was put on the floor from the building, the old building, carpeted all the way up to the door of the new building. And quite a few sannyasis were there, and they carried the deities on there. But it was nice, very, very nice program. Last day of Kartik, the Buddhists requested that deities move. But if it is your will, was the first part of the prayer, if it is your will. So if we just do that, and if it's your will, then you can say, do it in this particular way. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you for bringing it up. Just use if it is your will in front of your requests. That's all.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Glory to your Father. Okay.
Thank you so much for reminding me this. My Guru Maharaj, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, like when people like very sick or very ill, maybe they're going to pass or something. So people ask Guru Maharaj to pray. Then he said the same thing first. If it is your will, Krishna, Nishingadev, please protect him or her.
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding that point.
Yeah, it's very, very important. Very, and thank you for don't charge you for who brought it up, but that's what the question and that's how we all remember. So yeah, all glory to some of the devotees. Yeah, if it is your will, is very powerful. Use. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Any final questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your nice class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
I'm really feeling grateful for the class, learning every day something. And I also feel that Krishna protects us. He knows what's going to happen. He knows in time. And so he just protects us. If something bad going to happen, he knows and protects us. So which really, and I like the prayer you said in the end. We should try to say every day.
Yeah, every day. We are most sinful, we're unqualified, we've been trying to forget Krishna. That's the first part of it. We're most sinful, we're unqualified, and for so long, lifetime to lifetime, we've been trying to forget Krishna. Now, I'm taking shelter of your lotus feet. I'm yours. Everything I possess, I offer to you. Then do with me as you like. Make that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So, are there any final questions? Okay. We'd like to thank all the buddies for coming up this morning to hear so we can talk Krishna Katha and grow from it. We all good for everybody's purification, including me.
Vanchakalptarabhyascha
Kripa
kripasindhubhyo
evacha
patitanam
patitanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namah.
Hero
Thank you very much.
Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Thank you
Hare
very
Krishna.
much, Prabhu.
Thank
Thank you.
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. If I could just
Hare
quickly make a quick announcement
Yes.
today, Sunday feast related. So we're in Philadelphia. I don't know, probably you're going to experience it as well in Harrisburg. We're supposed to get a snowstorm that hits. It's going to be hitting for us in Philadelphia right around the Sunday feast time. So we haven't made a decision as of yet. I still have to talk to a few more devotees about whether the Sunday feast will still be on. Likely we'll still have, the temple will be open, but we want to make sure that the devotees really take into consideration their safety. I know a lot of people come from a distance. It's supposed to be between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock are actually supposed to be the worst. Temperatures are supposed to drop below freezing. And we just want to make sure that if it doesn't seem safe for you or your family, if you have young children, etc., please make a wise decision and be careful before coming out. Make sure, the roads are clear. We don't want to put anybody's health in jeopardy. Yeah. So we have a lot of sangha and a lot of service ahead of us. We don't want to make an unwise decision. But temple will be open as always. So we'll send out an email a little bit later once we get some more information. I just wanted to put that out. Already some people have been texting me, so I know it's on people's minds. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you.